Hello and welcome. Aquarister here, back with another video, and today we are looking at something that I myself have actually been trying to figure out for my own build, and that is just what direction I'm going to go in for my gear, whether that's crafting, farming, what are my options. So today's video, we are going to be going into that, and I'll just share kind of some of the research that I've done, and we'll look at the database a little bit so we can kind of take a look and see what some of those options are for your own builds. But before we fully get into today's video, I just want to say if this video does help you out, please drop it a like. It does help me out a lot. And if you'd like to see more content like this, especially the new content coming with Season 3, definitely subscribe to the channel. I have a lot of video ideas coming, as well as completely new build videos in completely different directions with all the changes. So I'm really excited to be coming out with more videos like that. So definitely subscribe. It does help me out a lot, and I do appreciate all the support you guys have been giving me, especially with Season 3 coming. So I do appreciate it. I thank you, and let's get into today's video. Alright, so we have Season 3 and the expansion coming very soon. Now, again, a lot of us are looking for new builds. We have new metas that are going to be coming around, big changes to gear, perks, new weapon being added, some weapons being changed. So everyone's kind of thinking, what am I going to do for gear? Now, my initial thought was, well, what am I going to craft? How am I going to craft it? And how expensive is that going to be? Now, that can be very overwhelming because crafting, as we all know, can be very expensive. And although they did add the option to get that guaranteed 700 roll with all the perks, it is very expensive and isn't like you can go out and just craft an entire set day one immediately just like that, because there are some cooldowns to some of the things that you need. So at least they slowed down the progression a little bit for that for some people, so it wasn't just instantly those with the most money were going to have the absolute best gear, best in slot day one. It'll take a little bit of time and a lot more money and stuff, but eventually people will get there. Now, again, for a lot of us, we may not have enough gold in order to be able to actually go out and craft gear or anything like that. And what are the options if we don't want to go out and craft gear? Because we all know that the named items that are currently in game, they'll be 625, but we can't get up to that 700 gear score. So I did a little bit of research, a little bit of testing the PTR, and then I hopped onto the database and discovered that there are definitely some options out there for us. Now, one option is obviously crafting, like we said, in order to get your gear. Another option are artifacts, which you can have one piece, one armor, one jewelry, one weapon, and that's really good. There are some very good artifacts. I'm not going to go over the artifacts today, but I am just going to point them out so people know that there is an option for some very good gear out there. Might just take a little bit of farming in order to get them, depending on the artifact that you're looking for, but the database will definitely tell you where those are and how to acquire them. But the option that I am actually going to be going with for as much gear as I can, initially at least, is named gear. So there are new named items in the game, and they gave us this new option to actually upgrade the named items. So looking at the database here, you can see that we have this particular named item that I'm going to use for an example. So this is called Stone Soul. It is a heavy boot piece, full con, shirking fort, health, and then a random perk. So having that random perk there more or less means that we are then able to craft that into another perk there. So if we look at the upgrade recipes here, you can see that as long as you have the pair of boots, an armor matrix, 100 dark matter, and gypsum orbs, you are then able to take that item, craft it into a 700 gear score, and then also pick that last perk on it. So it's a really cool way where if you're not a crafter or anything like that, you're still going to have that option. Now, that is done at the gypsum kiln, and it will not show the actual schematic or recipe for that unless you have the named item. So you do need to actually own the named item for it to even show you that it is craftable or upgradable. But if it does show that, then it means that you do have an item that can. So this is definitely an option to go with. And what I'm going to recommend to you is hop into the database or any database, whatever database you like to use. I use the New World database .info, and I'll show you here what you can do. So in order to find this, so let's say we're looking for shirking fort, heavy armor that I will be able to then upgrade or change. So we're going to go to the database. We'll go down to weapons. We'll go down to, sorry, armor. And we will click all armor and change this perk. We'll put shirking fort. Just like that. And then we'll do weight class. We'll look for heavy armor specifically. And then what I'm going to need to do is change the gear score here. So as you can see, there's a bunch of named items here that actually will have shirking fort, but this is the old named item system. So this, although it does have shirking fort, it has physical version, refreshing, and that refreshing we cannot change. So that has 3 locked in perks, and you cannot get above that 625 as far as I am aware. So that's where these new items, these new named items coming into play are really, really nice. This particular one happens to be bind on equip, but a lot of them are going to be bind on pickup. And yeah, I mean, it's really nice because you can essentially go out, farm this gear, and then farm up the stuff to upgrade it, get that 3rd perk, and now you have all 3 perks that you were looking for. So what I'm going to suggest to you is if you are looking to craft some gear, very specific gear, maybe you have 1 or 2 perks that you're guaranteed you want, and the 3rd perk, you're a little bit up in the air, or you're not, you don't want to spend the prismatic to try to get that. I highly recommend going to a database and searching for at least 1 or 2 of the perks that you're looking for. See if there's some new named items out there. And then from there, you can see if they are upgradable. If they are upgradable, then you get to pick that 3rd perk. It isn't, super cheap, but the dark matter is the main thing that people are going to be searching for in order to get that gear upgraded. So just giving us another option in order to get some of that gear leveled up and to get some of that best in slot 700 gear. So I do really, really like the route that they're going with some of this. I think it's great. I think it makes a big difference for those who maybe aren't crafters, and those who maybe just aren't wanting to get their trade skills up. Now, not all of these are going to have, a 3rd perk that you can actually choose to craft. This one here, it is a bind on pickup, and then let's take a closer look. So this one is dropped by by these 4 different creature types in the Savage Divide. But as you can see, it doesn't give us that option to upgrade. So not all of the named items are going to have a 3rd perk that is upgradable, but you can get a random perk. So if we look at the perk buckets for this one, and these are all of the different perks that potentially can drop, which honestly, with Elemental Aversion, Shirking Fort, you can't go too wrong with, Refreshing Health, something like that. But in general, if you are wanting that absolute best in slot, perfect gear for what you're looking for, crafting is still going to be the most consistent option. But what I'm going to recommend is first, before you just go and buy all the resources to craft your gear, check the database first, see if there actually is a piece of gear out there that's named that you could then upgrade the 3rd perk. So that is what I'm going to be doing for most of my builds. First, I will check database, see what's out there available for named perks or for named items, and then named items that I'm then able to craft and upgrade. And then from there, if there's nothing, then I'll go and invest the money and resources into the crafts. So that's the route that I'm kind of going for it, and I think it's going to work out pretty good. Just because, again, it gets really, really expensive to have to craft all this stuff. And then when we're talking prismatic scarab crafting, it just gets to be so much more expensive. Definitely worth it to get exactly what you're looking for. But a lot of us are not going to be able to afford that immediately. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. So thank you very much for watching. I hope it did help you out because I know I've been a little bit lost with what direction I'm going to go with my builds. Although I am a crafter, I have all of my trade skills capped, it's still overwhelming to me to think about having to craft all new gear. So I'm really hoping that between going out and looting some of this higher, gear score items, plus with the named items, crafting all these different options now to acquire this better gear, I think should be a lot easier for players, especially those who are maybe more casual and don't have the time to invest into their trade skills. Now there's kind of another option for them to go out and physically farm, get to play the game, play the content that they want, and still get that best in slot gear, or at least have a chance at it. So I think it's a really, really good direction. I hope this video did help you out though, because I know I was a little bit lost, and hopefully you're not as lost as I was. But this is kind of the direction I'm going, and I'm kind of sticking with it as of right now. But we'll obviously see once season 3 actually drops. There's for sure going to be some changes from the PTR and stuff, so we'll see what all has changed and what direction everything's going in. But that is going to do it for today's video, so I do appreciate everyone stopping by. But until next time, I'll see you guys later.